Good evening, ladies and internet degenerates. Welcome back to the world of murder, madness and mayhem. The defendant in the stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students, Bryan Kohberger, is going to be a really difficult client, according to a defense counsel. Kohberger, 28, was arraigned in Latah County District Court on Monday but chose not to enter a plea. His defense counsel, Ann Taylor, informed the judge that they would stand silent at this time. Judge John Judge of the 2nd District was prompted by the verdict to enter not guilty pleas on Kohberger's behalf. He is accused of killing Kaylee Goncalves, 21, Madison Mogen, 21, Xana Kernodle, 20, and Ethan Chapin, 20, in a Moscow rental home on November 13 on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. Kohberger was detained late last year at his parents' house in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, where he was a graduate student researching criminology at the adjacent Washington State University. Kohberger also refused to relinquish his right to a speedy trial on Monday, therefore the judge set the trial's start date for October 2. Bill Thompson, the prosecutor for Latah County, has 60 days to notify the court of his intention to pursue the death penalty in this case. Ashley Banfield of News Nation noted on her broadcast on Monday night that she had never seen somebody look so engaged, and then stopped talking, when discussing the arraignment. Banfield was informed by criminal defense lawyer Richard Block that it seems really strange if Kohberger is attempting to work up an incompetency defense. He predicted Taylor could have trouble persuading Kohberger to take the necessary actions to make a strong defense in the case. Block opined, "I think it's more than possible that Ann Taylor has a particularly challenging client who will be a problem. And she's going to have a lot of difficulty managing him and persuading him to do the actions necessary to put up a strong defense." Another criminal defense lawyer, Jessica Bublitz, claimed on News Nation that many lawyers in Idaho feel that being silent in the face of a grand jury indictment offers them an edge when trying to overturn an indictment. A grand jury filed an indictment against Kohberger last week. Bublitz stated, "I don't personally think it would make a difference, but my view is that this is probably just Ann Taylor's way, standard procedure for her, when she has a client who would challenge a grand jury indictment." It was also questioned whether Kohberger was attempting to evade the death penalty by choosing to remain silent. According to criminal defense lawyer Sarah Azari, remaining silent is a smart move to placate the victims' families. "We proclaim that silence is gold. It's about leaving the door open so that he won't have P***D off for hurting, reeling families if this is a really bad case in terms of irrefutable evidence and he does, in fact, ultimately plead guilty in exchange for the death penalty to be lifted or whatever," she said. Bryan Kohberger, the man accused of stabbing 4 Idaho college students to death, sat wordlessly in court during his arraignment on Monday as a judge read aloud the murder and burglary charges against him. He then asked whether the suspect was prepared to announce his plea. Instead of entering a plea, Kohberger's attorney replied, "Your Honor, we are standing silent." The unconventional legal strategy, also known as standing mute, relies on an Idaho criminal rule which requires a judge to then enter a not guilty plea on the defendant's behalf, effectively allowing him to avoid verbally committing to being guilty or not guilty. What he says or doesn't say is irrelevant, according to Seattle attorney Ann Bremner, who spoke to CNN. In any case, he has entered a not guilty plea into the record. While extremely rare, remaining silent is not unheard of. The strategy was also applied in the trial of Nicholas Cruz, the shooter who killed 17 people at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, in 2018. As the October trial approaches, Kohberger is accused of killing University of Idaho students Kaylee Goncalves, 21, Madison Mogen, 21, Xana Kernodle, 20, and Ethan Chapin, 20, at a Moscow, Idaho, residence on November 13. Kohberger also faces 1 count of burglary in addition to the 4 first-degree murder charges. Investigators have claimed that Kohberger, a graduate student in the Department of Criminology at the nearby Washington State University, broke into the victim's home and repeatedly stabbed them before leaving the scene. Despite a broad gag order keeping facts of the case from the public, the investigation is still ongoing. The bloody killings and protracted inquiry shrouded the college campus and the neighborhood in doubt and dread. Kohberger was apprehended and recognized as the suspected murderer after over 7 weeks had passed. According to Samuel Newton, a law professor at the University of Idaho, there are several reasons why defendants would decide to stand silent, particularly in a case as public and closely watched as Kohberger's. According to Newton, the defendant might desire to avoid any criticism that might follow a certain plea. He added that a not guilty plea, for instance, can cause public uproar since it suggests the defendants are denying responsibility for the claimed conduct. A plea agreement may be the subject of negotiations between the prosecution and defense lawyers, according to Newton. Bremner rejected the notion that Kohberger's lawyer would be considering a plea of not guilty due to insanity because Idaho does not recognize the insanity defense. Alternatively, the defendant might just be being tough and unwilling to cooperate, according to Newton. Bremner concurred, stating, "Maybe he's just trying to be defiant or attempting to show he's the smartest guy in the courtroom." She emphasized Kohberger's prior experience studying criminology, saying, "He knew enough about criminal studies that it would have an impact." Kohberger has been held without bail since he was arrested in December at his parents' home in Pennsylvania and brought back to Idaho, where he awaits trial. The trial is set to begin October 2nd and is expected to last about 6 weeks. Prosecutors have 60 days from Monday to announce, in writing, whether they plan to seek the death penalty in their case against him. 2 hearings are also scheduled for June 9th to address motions, filed by an attorney representing the family of Goncalves and a media coalition, regarding concerns over the wide-ranging gag order in the case. According to an affidavit, the roommate informed detectives she saw a man wearing a mask and dark clothing inside the home the morning of the murders. She described him as being 5 feet 10 inches or taller, masculine, athletically built but not overly muscular, with bushy eyebrows, it claimed. Kohberger traveled cross-country to his parents' home in Pennsylvania while the inquiry was still going on, and he showed up there approximately a week before Christmas, according to Monroe County Chief Public Defender Jason Labar, who spoke to CNN in December. There, according to the complaint, police were able to correlate DNA found in garbage taken from Kohberger's family's home to DNA on a tan leather knife sheath discovered close to one of the victims. A number of goods, including a mobile phone, black gloves, black masks, computers, a Smith & Wesson pocket knife, and a dagger in a leather sheath, were taken from the suspect's Pennsylvania residence after his arrest, according to an evidence log. Additionally, authorities seized a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra that the suspect's attorney had claimed he had used to travel with his father to his parents' house for the holidays. According to court records, detectives disassembled the car and took pieces, fibers, and swabs for additional testing.